I just wanted to discuss something that a lot of people with ADHD talk about, and that's executive functioning. And I want to focus on the nurture side of things without discounting the nature that it could be genetic, could be chemical imbalances, things like that as well. Um, Focusing on the nature gives me the hope that then there's some steps we could take or something that we could do to you know, have a little bit less executive functioning um, problems. And so, yeah, honestly, when you focus on the nurture side of anything, you can kind of get that hope of like understanding that a little bit better and changing things little by little. Even when you do focus on the nurture side of things, there are also things that are completely out of our control. And so, if you want to take it from an objective perspective, you also do have to like realize and understand and completely accept that if you see no progress and you do as much learning as you can about it, you may or may not see any changes, you know, which is hard in general, not just for this topic, but for all topics, to live in an information age where we have access to so much knowledge and understanding without without the energy to apply it or without the resources to do so. That's just like generally a difficult thing, which that in itself, I think, freezes people up. The fact we have all this information, so much knowledge, and you can take steps towards trying to do something about it. And if you experience enough failures or enough setbacks, or like it's not worth the cost of how much you're putting in, then that might just like further any executive functioning problems because, um, then you'd be inclined to give up. And that was actually something I just thought of. But along with that, a lot of people blame technology for executive functioning issues. And I think that's not something we can discount completely, but as I've kind of been talking to a lot more people, I used to think it was just like people my age and younger who were like exposed to the rise of technology that were having issues with executive function, but I don't think so now. I think like even reading stories before there was any technology really, there were people that were struggling with this. And I say struggling with this, but it also could be like a survival response. It could be playing to our safety to, when you're in survival mode, there's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. You activate the freeze response, and like your nervous system isn't doing very well, and that is going to then lead to executive functioning problems long term if that is just constantly activated like that. And I personally believe that it isn't because of the rise of technology, and I think that the rise of technology in the way that it has, and the way that there's these dopamine hits on short form social media, etc., comes from sociocultural ways to do things that sort of enhance safety while inhibiting freedom and liberation. So, yeah, I think that technology rose in the way that it has out of maybe like the Rockefeller system that was already in place, out of already inhibiting your basic motor skills in young children. And if you're not fully inhibiting those basic motor skills, you are roboticizing people into conforming and doing very specific motions over and over again, which cause disease if you don't have some kind of freedom to like experience other types of movements and motion. So just to give you an example of this, anyone who plays a sport and only is in one sport they might experience some kind of injury, inflammation in the muscles and joints that they're using over and over again. Or me as a violinist, like I experience tendonitis more when I just play violin over and over again versus like expanding and playing piano too, or doing some sports and having a lot of different options of movement and interaction and ways to do things in my life. And then I see a lot of people who I think have been a lot more inhibited from very young ages from any type of movement due to like this striving for more and more safety, which is important. But Jordan Peterson talks about, I don't agree with everything I don't agree with everything anybody personally says. So if I cite something somebody says, know that I don't agree with everything they say, but this thing they're saying, I like, if I'm saying it, I probably totally agree with at the time. And so he talks about like people wanting to go on a bike tour and then the parents just wouldn't let them. And the ideal would be to let these people go on that bike tour as a young adult and give them all the safety precautions necessary so that they can go adventure, learn, and have what they need to be safe as they're doing that. Or he also talks about how it's important for kids to skateboard, to make some mistakes, to learn how to balance, to do that. In the Rockefeller school system, it's to still listen and take information. And then from that arose an information age. And so it's almost like even mentally having the same muscles, not muscles in your brain, having maybe the same whatever synapses firing without exercising other types of things that would increase neuroplasticity. It's like it's just an exercise, but an over-exercise of the same things over and over again without enough variety, enough freedom, because you're going into safety and you're not going into liberation and sunlight and solar plexus liberation type of energy. No. And so, from a nurture perspective, you're so hyper inhibited that you just have all this information and can't do anything about it. And yeah, all of the energy has been, I think, put like that for some good reasons, but also some nefarious reasons too. In general, though, I would say give yourself like a lot of grace if you're experiencing executive functioning problems, because the behaviorism has taught you that you will be punished for engaging in certain things that are not bad for you, that are actually good. And behaviorism just does that. It's what it does. So, releasing those patterns, if you ever are able to do so, will take time and a lot of patience. And I think more awareness than like, I think it takes more awareness than any kind of goal setting per se. Or like if your nervous system is so shot, like willpower is a thing, but you have to nourish your nervous system before you can gain any type of willpower for anybody. And so there's a lot of grace that needs to be had, and just acceptance and like self-love if you are experiencing executive functioning problems, and if you're like wanting to be better at just, setting your goals and going for them or whatever. So yeah.